Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today I have Ravi Bhatia on the line, and he is a principal over at Verano Capital Partners. And for everybody listening, just so you know, this is part of our Milken Conference Global Coverage Series, where we bring you the best of participants, attendees, VIPs, speakers, panelists, and all the above, really, from the Milken Global Conference in Beverly Hills, California. And again, as I mentioned, Ravi, welcome to the show.
All right, thank you for having me.
All right, Ravi. So looking forward to getting into what you're doing at Verano Capital Partners. But just to kick it off, this is part of the Milken Conference Global Coverage Conference Series. A mouthful there. Your experience. I mean, talk to me. Was this your first time at the conference? Have you been before? Like, what's your connection overall to the conference and the institute?
Yeah. So this was my second year attending the conference. Last year was my first year, and both times I've been there just one day. Well, I shouldn't complain because I didn't have to pay for the conference, which is probably the most expensive conference you can attend. I imagine $50,000 a ticket. So, I know a couple of people at Milken Institute, and one of them is Kevin, and him and I have gotten to know each other. And one of the things is that his background is fairly diverse like myself, and we have had some great conversations on everything from global macro political to clean tech, and like everything from urban development to logistics, transportation, you name it. And that's one thing that when I spoke with him last year is what intrigued him about inviting me to the conference. So obviously same thing this year as well. And, so I enjoyed attending the conference even for a day. I think the speakers, the panel, the topics, the discussions all the way around, you just meet people that you would not normally meet at other events. So I think overall I hope to be on a panel in the future for the conference, and either it's clean tech or it could be transportation, and everything from energy to clean water, and you name it. I also will go into what I do at Verano Capital Partners, where I am the principal, and I have a team of about 9 to 10 people whom I work with. They're spread out North America and Europe, and also Asia Pacific as well, where we're sort of unique in the sense of, every company that we work with, it's about essentially helping them scale and grow. So that's a three-pronged approach, It's first is finance, capital raise, and equity or debt or, grants. So advisory side on that part of it. So it's like, borderline investment banking and also structured finance. And then the second thing is the, ability to grow and scale. So that's probably the most challenging part, because just because having capital doesn't mean automatically you're going to grow. Certainly you have to do it, but growing organically through, like just viral growth and using, social media, more of a word of mouth and et cetera, right? So there are companies that are B2C, then there are B2B. So the B2C, that's probably the best approach. B2B is a little different, but still, my background from my days in technology in Silicon Valley was in CRM, and I worked with many companies in the, essentially customer acquisition, lead management, and campaign planning and all those things. So, obviously we have come a long ways. Now you have AI, which can do a lot more at a fraction of the cost, but also very efficiently. So, so going back to these companies, they need to scale and grow. So that growth can be from a revenue standpoint, customer acquisition, or even joint ventures or, cross-functional businesses and, domestic and international. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is being able to sustain the growth, but also expand into other markets. And eventually either they acquire or we help them with the acquisition strategy. Because we all know that, none of these companies that we're talking about today, like Meta, tech companies especially, Microsoft even, and other ones, they did not get to be at this size without acquisitions. All their key acquisitions helped them get into markets and even essentially dominate and become the leaders. So, and that strategy is the best way to scale across rather than scale up vertically. So it's more of a, vertical, horizontal, cross, functional, growth. And so those are the areas where we focus on, and every, from pre-revenue to revenue generating small revenue, and then some are on the, traction of where they're actually doing about 3 to 5 million in a year or so. So there's a, pretty broad spectrum of companies that, we deal with, from, early stage to mid to late stage. And then, certainly the other thing is the access to capital, venture capital, private equity, family offices, high net worth individuals, foreign investors like EB5, and then lastly, government grants and funding through, low cost debt. So it's just a lot of different things we can deploy to help these companies grow and scale up, and then, eventually these founders can exit.
How did you originally get into this business or find interest in wanting to help companies scale? Like where did that part start for you? So consulting work I've been doing for a long time because that's how my career got started with. My first ever role was at a software company in San Francisco where they were actually implementing Salesforce for their sales team. Wow.
And that's before Salesforce was even a company in itself. And then I left them and joined Ernst & Young in the management consulting practice. And, for the next 3 years, I was just traveling and doing a lot of, project work. So I did everything from technology, implementation projects to, business transformation and, even technology in a post-merger integration. So a lot of it was, working with front end, building front end applications for back office like SAP, Oracle, PeopleSoft, and that's how things got started. But what's different from that point on, from that time to now, is that in 2015, when I started, actually 2014, but let's just say 2014-15, when I started Verona Capital Partners, it really started out as a project financing for real estate projects. And then it just grew from that to, funding for venture capital for these startup companies to, where companies were looking to acquire the companies and acquisition financing and just a, just slew of different things. Where it is today is sort of amalgamation of everything that, has been for the last 10 years and even prior to that, right? So I'm able to kind of combine my experience background and, put everything from finance, strategy, business, and, technology to kind of blend everything and bring it all together.
You have a unique vantage point based off obviously your work, your history, how long you've been doing this, and different angles you're coming at this at the scaling challenge from. I'm just curious, what kind of trends are you following right now? Like what excites you in the market?
I think, it's just, I've gone through what, it makes it sound like I'm dated, but it's
You just
certainly,
now
it's
said you just made it sound like you don't get excited. Come on, what gets Ravi up and excited? What's new for you? I
yeah.
know. Don't tell me nothing's new. Come on, what gets you
No, no,
fired
no.
up?
What I was going to say was that I've gone through 3 decades of, 3 decades of technology,
Of
changes, right?
pain. No, I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
of growth.
So 2000 was like the dot-com era. 2010 was the, Web 2 and then Web 3 eventually. And then we're in 2020, so 21, we're in 25 now. So it's the age of AI and robotics and, essentially, deep tech, right? So I think to answer your question, I mean, there's so much that has happened in 3 decades. I think than what went on prior, right, in the 80s and 90s. And I think just being able to understand how technology is so much part of our lives and, how to use it but not overly abuse it. Because one thing, from what I've been sort of, gleaning from everything that's been going on is that what people say is that, technology, will create more jobs, but it'll also replace a lot of jobs. So the problem is that people who are not adopters of it, they're going to have a hard time adjusting to the next, wave, next 5 years or next 10 years. And we're seeing so much change already in the market that it's just going to be very difficult for people who are older, who are not educated, who rely on others for basic things. That doing things, if you can understand how to use technology, you can, get so much more stuff done in an efficiency standpoint, and also have more time for other things. But if you don't know how to use it, then it could be a long ways. It could be like basically for simple things, it could take you a whole day just to accomplish 5 things, right? So, so smartphones is definitely everybody, has it. The smartphones are even getting smarter now, so you have to know how to use it. The problem is that I think it's also eliminating the, it's making people think less, which I think is a big issue, because they're relying too much on technology, and that's not good either. I'm all for balance. You can't overuse it, but you can't underutilize it also. You got to have the fine balance and knowing how to, do things and where the demand's going to be in the soft skills. That's where your soft skills are going to be more important, because robots not going to, negotiate for you. You're buying something, you're doing a transaction, it's going to give you recommendations, but it's not going to make the decision for you unless you choose that option. I think you still have to know how to, look at it and say, does this make sense? Or should I use my own intuition and gut feeling and then make that decision, right? So it's all about figuring out what makes sense. You have more options now than you did 10 years ago, right? I mean, literally you have like, this option A, option B, option C, option D. But question is, which one's the right? What is the right option? What's the right decision you have to make? And that's all going to come down to you as a person. It's people. It's about people. It's not like we're not having these machines think for us. We still have to make the decision. So you could get recommendations. You can get things that can be sort of like unbiased. But even then, I question sometimes which AI engine you're using, search engine, which one is giving the unbiased response or answer. That's the key, is unbiased. You can't have it be where it's being swaying you to think a certain way, because now you're like, wait a minute, why are you telling me to do this? So anyhow, I think that's the trend we're dealing with now and in the future. But it's all for the good, I think, also. But if it's used improperly or in a bad in a bad way, then it can also cause a lot of damage. Look, I mean, if somebody wipes out the grid, you don't have power, you don't have access to water, you don't have access to utilities. That's a huge thing, right? That's a huge thing. Somebody can manipulate everything. Where that's the reason I don't have a electric car, because if somebody can reprogram it, it can do a lot more damage than what you're, So there has to be some things in place, regulatory wise, some policing and all that.
Yeah. Ravi, this has been great having you on the show today. I mean, really enjoyed our conversation and getting to know more about your work as well. That being said, if somebody's listening or watching this, and if they want to connect and learn more about Verano Capital Partners, how do they do that?
Yeah, so certainly we have a website. It's exactly the name of the company, VeranoCapitalPartners.com. It's spelled VERANO, capitalpartners.com. And myself, there's a bio on myself and on other people on the team. And then if they want to reach to me personally, I'm on LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn profile, I think it's open, so they don't need a request access request my email to connect with me. It's open. So it's linkedin.com/ I think it's / maybe RAV, B as in boy, HATIA, and that's the other way to connect with me, and or they can reach out to me on my email address, Ravi at VeranoCapitalPartners.com.
Wonderful. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes, so you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Ravi, thanks again for coming on the show.
All right. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate the time as well. Take care.